You get home from work, and you cannot make a single decision. Not what to eat, not what to watch, not what to do with the next hour. You slept. You had coffee. Your body is fine, but something in your head just refuses to turn back on. The people who know you say you seem tired all the time, and you don't know how to explain that it isn't tiredness exactly. It's something deeper, something heavier, and you've never had a name for it. Society has a name for it, of course. Lazy, unmotivated, sensitive. Can't handle pressure, but that word has never fit, because you're not refusing to move. You're empty. But today, I want to offer you a different perspective, one that is a little kinder and a lot more scientific. I know exactly what you have been told. You have been told you're lazy. You have been told you just need to push through. You have been told, probably more times than you can count, that everyone is tired and you need to toughen up. But here's what nobody tells you. Your exhaustion is not a character flaw. It is a neurological signal. Your brain is not failing you. It is preserving itself. What you have is what neuroscientists are beginning to call a high-demand brain. A brain that processes deeply, feels acutely, and because of that runs through its resources faster than most. Here's the analogy I want you to hold on to. If your brain were a car engine, yours isn't running low on fuel, it's running high on exhaust. And no one taught you how to clear it. To understand why this happens, and why some people experience it chronically, we need to look at what's actually building up inside your prefrontal cortex. Neuroscientists have identified 3 specific reasons why some brains drain faster. 3 real biological mechanisms. And once you understand them, the exhaustion stops being a mystery. Mechanism 1. The allostatic debt. Picture a soldier on a 2-hour patrol. They come home exhausted. That makes sense. But now, picture a soldier who never leaves patrol mode, who sleeps in body armor, who scans every room when they enter it, who is always braced, always ready, always waiting for something to go wrong. That soldier is not tired from one hard day. They are depleted from continuous readiness. Cognitive scientists call this the allostatic debt, and your brain may be running it right now. Here's how it works. Your brain has a built-in alarm system, the HPA axis, a network of glands that fires cortisol and stress hormones into your bloodstream when it detects a threat. For most threats, the alarm fires and resets, fires and resets. The system is built for short, intense episodes. But for chronic stress, work pressure, financial uncertainty, relationship tension, the low-level ambient noise of modern life, the alarm never fully resets. And running an alarm system 24 hours a day is exhausting, even when nothing is actually wrong. Research from Bruce McEwen and Elaine documents what happens when the system stays on. Prolonged cortisol elevation begins to reduce volume in the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, the exact regions responsible for focus, memory, and decision-making. The brain is literally being worn down by its own protective response. Wild, right? This is why rest doesn't always fix the exhaustion. You lie down, your body is horizontal, but your nervous system doesn't lie down with it. It is still on patrol. Now, mechanism 2, the invisible processing tax. But here's the third mechanism, and it may be the one nobody is talking about enough. Stay with me. Most brains move through a day the way a standard camera records a scene. Steady, efficient, capturing what it needs. But some brains are recording in 4K. Every frame contains more data, more sensory input, more emotional nuance, more social information processed in the background without anyone asking it to. And 4K rendering takes more power. Every time. Psychologist Elaine's research suggests that roughly 1 in 5 people have nervous systems wired for deeper processing of sensory, emotional, and social information. Not as a psychological style, as a neurological trait. These individuals show greater activation in brain regions associated with attention, action planning, and empathy processing. The depth is structural. It is not a choice. Cognitive scientists call this the invisible processing tax. Every experience runs through a finer filter. More data in, more processing required, more cognitive resources spent per unit of time. And here's what the standard mental exhaustion assessments always miss. They count tasks. They don't count the energy spent managing your emotional responses in a tense meeting. They don't count the cognitive load of decoding an ambiguous text from someone you care about. They don't count the effort of suppressing a reaction, staying composed when something stings, deciding in real time how much of what you feel to show. That is invisible cognitive work. And, for a high-demand brain, it is constant. Now, for the evolutionary proof, because this is where the science gets precise. Deep processing exists in roughly 20% of the population, and it appears across many species, not just humans. If it were a pure liability, natural selection would have eliminated it thousands of years ago. It didn't. Why? Because the tribe needed people who processed carefully, who caught what others missed, who felt consequences before they arrived. The high-demand brain wasn't a disadvantage. It was the early warning system. If your brain has been described as too much, stay with this channel. That's the exact conversation we have here. Mechanism 3. The glutamate overflow. And then we come to the second mechanism. The 2022 study from the Paris Brain Institute made impossible to ignore. Cognitive scientists call this the glutamate overflow, and it is happening inside your prefrontal cortex right now. Here's the biology. Every time your brain thinks hard, every decision, every act of concentration, every moment of self-control, it produces a neurotransmitter called glutamate. Glutamate powers the thinking. But it also accumulates as a byproduct. Sleep is what clears it overnight. The problem is, if you never give your brain a genuine cognitive rest during the day, the glutamate builds up before sleep ever arrives. Matthias Pesiglione and his team at the Paris Brain Institute ran a 2022 study, published in Current Biology, tracking glutamate levels in the lateral prefrontal cortex across a 6.5-hour workday. The hard work group showed approximately an 8% rise in glutamate by the end of the day. And crucially, only the hard work group started making measurably worse, more impulsive decisions as the day went on. About 10% more impulsive by end of day. Pesiglione's conclusion was direct. Fatigue is not an illusion cooked up by the brain to make us stop. It is a genuine signal to preserve the integrity of brain functioning. Here's the diagnostic contrast. Two people finish the same workday. One goes home and crashes on the sofa. The other still has energy to cook, to call a friend, to read. Same hours, roughly the same tasks. What's the difference? Their baseline glutamate clearance. Your decision engine isn't broken, it's clogged. But I need to make space for an important distinction. And this one matters. Some people are mentally exhausted all the time because of something that needs more than a cognitive reset. Clinical depression, thyroid disorders, sleep apnea, chronic inflammation, and burnout disorder all produce mental exhaustion that looks neurologically identical to what I've described here. The biology overlaps, but the cause is different, and the response needs to be different. Here's the question I want you to sit with. Is your exhaustion a response to the way your high-demand brain moves through the world? Does it track with cognitive load, with emotional intensity, with days that demanded more? Or has the exhaustion stopped being responsive at all? Meaning, it's there even on easy days, even after full nights of sleep, even when nothing has been asked of you. If it's the second, please talk to someone. That is not weakness. That is data. So here is my proposal for you. We call this the cognitive reset stack. 3 inputs, applied in order. Step 1, the hard stop, not a 5-minute break. A complete cognitive context switch. Walk outside. Do something physical. Cook. Do anything that removes you from deliberate, effortful thinking for a minimum of 20 minutes. This is not rest. This is glutamate clearance. Sleep does it overnight. A hard stop does a partial reset midday. Do not skip it because you don't feel like you've earned it. The engine doesn't care whether you think it deserves maintenance. Step 2, the demand audit. At the end of each day, write down the 3 things that cost the most mental energy, not just tasks. Include the invisible costs, the conversation you had to manage carefully, the email you reread 6 times, the decision that circled in the background all afternoon. You cannot reduce a drain you cannot see. Naming it is the first act of management. Step 3, the recovery gradient. Plan tomorrow with energy direction, not just time blocks. Schedule your highest cognitive demand tasks in your first 3 hours. Reserve low cognition tasks, admin, routine emails, filing for the end of the day, when glutamate is highest and prefrontal function is lowest. Stop spending your sharpest hours on your easiest tasks. That is not productivity. That is waste. You are not fragile. You are not broken. You are not someone who needs to toughen up. You are running a high-demand brain in a world that was designed for standard definition processing. The goal is not to become someone who never gets tired. The goal is to understand your engine well enough to drive it correctly. Start with the demand audit tonight. It takes 4 minutes, and it will show you exactly where your reserves are going. And if this video did what I hoped it would, if it gave your exhaustion a name, and that name felt like relief, then do something small right now, like this video. It tells me this kind of content is worth making more of. Subscribe, because the high-demand brain deserves a channel that actually understands how it works, and we have a lot more ground to cover. And turn notifications on, so the next time we go deep on something that explains you to yourself, you don't miss it. You've been tired long enough without answers. Now, you have one.